I'm hoping that I'm making sense here.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I feel like. Then the director did a good job.
But I feel like it did a bad job because I then no longer cared if any of them died.
But since we got you, give me the short version of your reviews of these films. I'm just going down your episodes.
Okay.
So give me X. What you got for X?
So X, I thought was a really good horror movie. However, I was a very, 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 very big had a very big issue with the relationship between the cameraman and the sound woman.
That's the movie.
The cameraman and the sound woman, they were dating, and the camera or the sound woman decided she wanted to be inside the porno, and I thought that was an extremely awful way to take the movie, and the way that they kind of gaslit the cameraman, I thought really took me out of the film as somebody that's married and in a loving relationship. When you have a relationship like that, just a relationship between a man and a woman, and somebody wants to have a open relationship out of nowhere or be in a porno with somebody else having sex with your partner, that should be something that should be talked about before the relationship, and you shouldn't be gaslighting somebody in the middle, if that makes sense.
I mean, you brought it home, but it was a horror film, and they
I don't
need to
care.
figure out a way to make.
I don't care. Like I said,
it was a red herring, actually.
Like I said, I'm somebody that's married and is in a very loving relationship and would never, ever, ever be okay with my wife.
She can hear you. I get it.
No, I don't know if she can. She probably will listen to this episode, but I'm saying if my wife was like, I think I want to be in this porno, I would be devastated because we have a monogamous relationship. And so I put myself in the film that I'm watching, and that really took me out of it. If you take that aspect out of it, which I think was a terrible aspect to go with it, especially with somebody that I really like Jenna Ortega.
Whoa, how did that take you? That should have put you even more in it.
That made me hate everybody.
Okay.
Except for the cameraman, who ended up is the first person that dies.
Well, then I think the director did a great job, because if it made you have a visceral reaction to that moment, then
the problem is it made me dislike everybody in the movie, and so I didn't care if any of them died. Because all of them were gaslighting the cameraman to say that he was in the wrong for wishing that or wanting them to be in a monogamous relationship, saying that he was insecure in their relationship, but that's not the truth. If you get into a relationship and you just like, if somebody's in OnlyFans, if they're a porn star, or if that's maybe a possibility, you talk about that beforehand, and hey, I'm dating somebody, they're going to be having sex with other people, it's an open relationship. That's totally fine. You have made that relationship status before you've gotten together or during a relationship, and then it's happened and you're both okay with it. Now, if you get into the situation and the woman is just like, no, I'm going to go and have sex with this other person, I don't care. And then everybody else in that circle is like, why are you upset with this? That's gaslighting that one guy and making him to be the villain, even though he's the person that's like, we didn't go into the situation as an open relationship, and now you're making an open relationship. I'm hoping that I'm making sense here.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I feel like. Then the director did a good job.
But I feel like it did a bad job because I then no longer cared you should. In a horror movie, you should care if the people die. You should be rooting for, in my opinion, you should be rooting for the people that are fighting against the bad guys. That's what I like about horror movies, is when they try to overcome the evil that's around them. And now I think you might have a little bit different perspective, because you seem to sometimes think, sorry, I have very passionate thoughts about X. My bad.
Okay.
I also watched like 3 movies in a row that all had women cheating on their husbands, and it was very rough for me.
My point has already been made. Now, go ahead.
But oh fuck! I forgot where you sometimes you seem to have said that you like when the antagonist, the horror person, like they have they're not necessarily in the wrong, and X might be a semi.
No, more specifically, when I'm saying director did his job, you have, as we see, you have a visceral reaction to this moment.
But I don't think that was the point.
It doesn't mean that you were the only one with this feeling. I think it was intentional.
I feel like the intention was supposed to be women having a freedom in their relationship, and that's not the way.
I wouldn't say that because because if that was true, you don't show him now crying in the fucking shower.
Well, I also feel like that's supposed to be men being insecure in their relationship.
So I wouldn't say that.
But that's also our political climate. Like, men are supposed to be more like okay with their.
Yeah, I don't think that movie was. I don't think that was supposed to say that. I think that moment, because up until that point, if you really kind of look at that in X, up until that point, you really couldn't. You don't know who the fuck it. Typically, you're supposed to find that person who's going to end up surviving at the end. At this point, you have no idea what that person might be. And probably you was going to think that it was Ortega.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I feel like not the whole moment was a red herring, but that was your red herring of like, well, she's the innocent chick, as you said. And I think it was there that, okay, now she did this thing after we sat through this moment where he was like, no, she won't do it. I don't want her in it. Da, 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 da. Well, if she wants to do it, blah, 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 blah. So all this shit happened where you think she's the innocent person. You obviously have the protective boyfriend who's trying to protect her from this.
See, I don't think that's a protective boyfriend.
Well, you're going off of, and I follow that, this is your creed of your relationship, sure. But I'm saying in this moment, you have the boyfriend who may be protecting this because he brought her into this.
Yeah.
So he brought her into this situation, not thinking it was just, oh, you're just going to do some work with me. We go travel, whatever. And now she's being lured in. So as the protector of his relationship, as the lead of your relationship.
I also find it some anti-feminist stuff because you're saying that a woman can't go into a scenario and be impartial to sex. Like,
we gotta be. Come on, I think in ways we gotta be a little real about like when it comes.
So if
to
a
stuff,
woman comes in and she's supposed to be pure and she's supposed to be monogamous, if she's surrounded by sex, she's going to automatically be tempted and not be able to overcome that temptation.
Like, we gotta be able.
I'm saying that's why I dislike it, because I think it has so many different angles coming into it that are wrong.
I don't think that part that we're talking about right now, I don't think that particular. I think that part was meant to make people feel the way that you felt in that, because you don't. Now it's like, who the fuck am I supposed to like?
If that
here?
was the point, it did too much. Because
after that, he dies. So now you lose.
The only person I cared about was the guy that was filming.
And then when he dies, now everyone is lost.
Yeah, and in my opinion, when I watch a horror movie, there should always be somebody that I'm rooting for. And I lost the one person I'm rooting for.
Okay, now as you continue through the film, do you eventually find someone you root for? So
that's why.
Now what happens?
That's why I think it was I really liked the beginning of the film. I really liked the first 30 minutes of the film. Obviously, very much just like that section of it. And I thought it was a decent slasher movie after that. And so I'm like, if you didn't do this, I think this would have been a really good slasher horror. But you really fucked up there, because you just made because before that moment, everybody was likable because everybody was there consently.
I don't think you need that.
Everybody was there under consent. Everybody was there to do something. And even though they were abusing the relationship of the Airbnb, they weren't supposed to be making a porno there, but they were. The old people wouldn't have been okay with it. I still liked every single one of the characters. But after you do that moment, every single one of the characters become deplorable. And I can't root for anybody to survive when every character becomes deplorable. And that includes even the old man and the old woman. But I was rooting for them more than I was for the kids.
I think that makes a...
And this is like... I don't care that they're making a porno. That's totally fine.
I think what makes today a horror movie much stronger when you don't know where you're supposed to place your allyship when watching, because you're so... the tradition, the norm is this is the your antagonist, protagonist. This is the person I'm supposed to be with. It's been handed to me, and or if not, it's kind of been like a magician. It's I'm doing the soft force for you to kind of start the side this way, because usually every film, there's an asshole. Okay, I don't like him.
Yeah.
That asshole lasts way longer than they supposed to last. Like these are very familiar beats in pretty much every horror that involves four friends that went off somewhere. So I think once you eliminate the one person that we're supposed to like, because that's why I feel like he was the one, that moment was the red herring. She was the red herring that you liked. You found endearing because the boyfriend kind of made her the sheep. And now everything flips on his head. He goes out, he dies. Now you're stuck with what do you figure out what to do
but I
next?
guess I just like horror movies where there's somebody that I can root for and I enjoy it. Like Get Out has our main character. You're rooting for him the whole time. Hereditary, you have the mother and the father, the whole family. You're rooting for the whole family, but all of it gets fucked up. It Follows, you have the main woman, the main girl that has sex and is trying to get out of it the whole time. You're rooting for her because she just happened to do something and now she's in this horrific scenario. Psycho, you're rooting for the main woman, even though she did something bad. You're still rooting for her, and a bad thing is still happening. So like, I like a horror movie where you're rooting for the main character, whether they survive or not, or the bad thing happens to him or not. There's a main person you are rooting for and you enjoy and you want. And even with Candyman, our main character, Anthony, I think. Yeah. You're rooting for him. Like, even though he's dealing with a bunch of shit and he may or may not be Candyman, because that's kind of what it's kind of showing you throughout the film, you are still rooting for him to progress past whatever he's going through because you like him as a character. I want to be rooting for somebody, whether it turns out good or bad. I want to be rooting for someone. And an X, I couldn't because they all became deplorable.
And I think that's the beautiful part about dual protagonists and things like this, to take people off the beat. That's one thing like horror movies right now where people, so much of horror movie is like today, fast forward, is giving the audience so much because the audience watches horror movies. They're already trying to answer questions. They're trying to figure out the puzzle. Not even trying to figure out. They are basically trying to not be afraid the whole time. So these are these things that people do inside of a horror film where they want to like be an active participant in what's happening, so that either like you want to have someone to root for or side with, or they want to figure out how not to be afraid of everything that's going on. I particularly like a film that does get you to react in some strong form that doesn't involve taking you out of it. But I do want you, I would like this, to me, if I was the director, whatever the dude's name,
you would say it's successful. So you made a visceral reaction out of someone.
If that was my intent, absolutely. Ty West.
Yeah, that's who it was. I was about to look up who it was. Yeah, it's Ty West.
Like, I talked about my Greensburg film, and there's a moment in there that I know, because I'm very anti-trigger warning. So I know, and I had to put one in here, but I know this is a moment that people are going to react to. I don't know if it's going to be good, positive. I don't know if it's going to be disturbing or whatever, but it's there. And if the response is how they felt about it, and I know that I intended to do it. Now, if I'm wrong about what Ty West was doing in that movie, in that moment, and it was how you describe it, then yeah, he fucked up. Because
I'm just saying, if you take out that literally 2-minute scene, I think this movie is a 4 to 4.5 star movie. And right now, I think I have it ranked as a 2. I have it a movie as I dislike because it took me out of it.
Oh man!
So it was a big difference for me.
Man, that hurts. Ty West, you almost had him. So,
you did, yeah. You really did. I enjoyed everything of that movie except for that.
I don't think I've ever. This is probably my issue with critics. It's like Black Adam. Actually, let me pull it up right now. This is what people
because that one scene changed the whole dynamic of the film.
I don't think it did. It changed your reaction to the film. Didn't change anything about the film. The film was still going to be what it ultimately ended up being. It changed,
the whole entire emotional feel of it.
For you.
Oh, I think for anybody watching.
I don't know.
Whether that's positive or negative. For me, it was negative, but other people it could be positive. But all of those characters are now different because of the action.
Well, I mean, true.
That's
true
like saying
because that's how they escalated. Moved the story.
That's
forward.
Like saying in Candyman, and at the very end of the film, he is sitting in thing. It's his arm chopped off, or whatever. That changed that changes.
Yeah, but you're saying the end of the film. You gotta use an example that moves the film along, because that moment is what helps go. Okay, now because that's the first kill. Yeah, that's the first kill in X is the video guy. So from there, now we're done fucking basically. Well, consensually fucking.
Yeah.
Now we have gotten into like the real, huh?
It was all still consensual.
I don't know, man. Grandma tried to fuck that girl in the bed. She got up in the bed with her.
Oh, they weren't fucking. She was just trying to chill. She was trying to get some cuddles in.
Oh man, this is one of the most uncomfortable. See, but I have this reaction.
I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that part of the film because that's just creepy horror. But
was it? That was just creepy.
It was creepy, but that creepy is horror, in my opinion. I like creepy, and that was on the edge of your seat stuff. But like I said, I just didn't care about the character anymore because of. If you make me not care about your characters, I'm not going to enjoy the film because I no longer have an emotional attachment to any characters. I have to have an emotional tie to your character for me to enjoy or care what happens to them. And if I don't care what happens to them, like what's the point of watching?
Well, entertainment.
Yeah.
That's the point.
That's any entertainment. If I'm watching football, if I don't care about Patrick Mahomes, why the fuck do I watch the game?
Entertainment.
Yeah. So you have to care about people.
I don't know. That's an aggressive investment. But again, this is where I go into like the critic world's like when I listen and read critics and I read that, like let's say if you didn't tell me and I read that, I go, well, what about the rest of the film? But for you watch it, that happens, and it changes your emotional your mostly emotional investment into the characters and the developing what happens. So now,
and I think that also is the difference between looking at a critic's score of the film versus actually reading the critic's review. Because if you listen to my whole review of the film, I will say I really enjoyed all of this stuff. This happened. And it really took me out of it. I really was I hated this scene. I hated the way that had effect on the film. But then everything after that, I also thought there was some really good stuff. So like, you could just read my critic review of 2. Or you could read my whole review where I said, all this is really good. This thing happened, took me out of the film. I don't like the direction they did with this. But after that, there was still some good stuff, but overall, I just like the film because of the way that this one action happened, and that can be done with a ton of different films. Of there one thing that happens in a film changes the emotional tie to the film, and that makes you either dislike or like the rest of the film. I don't think that's abnormal. Now you could still say objectively, like, is it a technically good film? But that's not, I'm not that kind of critic. I'm not a critic that's saying, is this technically a good film? Do I like the film do I like the film? Do I like watching it? Do I enjoy watching it? And then is there other, like some technical stuff will make me just like a little bit more, like it a little bit more.
Is there a film that you were hating, you wasn't enjoying, and in a moment like that happened and now
exact
you're like,
opposite?
I'm like, I really love this film now.
That's really hard to just pull out of pull out of the top of my head. I'm sure there is, but it's really hard to just pull that out of nowhere. We don't prep this shit, so as you can tell, yeah, that's really hard to just pull out of nowhere.
Because I think when you say, well, this can have a positive or negative effect, I think that you have to at least have an example where you didn't like something, this moment happened, and then it continued. Because again, it goes back to like that. If it was the intent, having some sort of that emotional investment that you have is equally as important to help get it along, get you to like something as much as it also gets you to not like something. If you have a movie that does that. But I don't know I don't know if you can not like a movie and then start to like it. What was a movie I did watch? Oh, yeah, you can't talk about it because you ain't seen it.
No, you can talk about whatever you want. I don't care.
Well, Smile, so you're gonna watch it.